In today's video, I'm sat down with director, producer, writer, and editor Aimee Kuge. Aimee has a lot of experience in horror films, helping to produce things like Black Eyed Susan and Doomscroll, but today we talked about her feature-length debut, Cannibal Mukbang. The film follows Mark, just your average guy that happens to fall in love with Ash. However, Ash isn't completely honest with him about her work and everything about her personal life, and as the film progresses, we begin to learn more and more about her secrets. I hope that you enjoy this interview. It was a lot of fun to do, and as always, thanks to Aimee for giving me the time to sit down and chat about her movie. So the first proper thing to ask, I guess, is how did the idea for Cannibal Mukbang come about, and how was the process of getting it all started?
Yeah, so the idea for Cannibal Mukbang actually kind of was planted in my head basically like in 2020, but I have been really into mukbanging and like watching mukbangers for a while. It's kind of a guilty, weird pleasure of mine. It helped me get through some eating disorder type stuff that I was going through. Like I didn't have a full-on eating disorder, but I did have some disordered thinking with food, and watching other people eat kind of helped me like get through that period of my life. But in 2020, I had been writing a script called Free Bleed, which I don't think I've really talked to like anybody about, but it's another script that I have that I pulled some inspiration from for mukbang. And I was at a party, like one of those little COVID parties where everyone's like, oh, we're all tested and we're all going to stand and, be in someone's apartment and talk. And someone I had never met was there. She was talking about one of her friends going on a date with this guy that she met on the dating apps. And she really thought he was cool. She was into him. He was attractive. She was having a great time. She went to his apartment. He cooked her a bunch of food. And at the end of the night, she wanted to stay longer, but he was like, no, 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 like, let's take things slow. I'll see you again soon. So he sends her off. The next day, she is feeling kind of weird. Her stomach hurts, and it starts hurting so much that she ends up going to the hospital. And when she goes to the hospital, they test her stomach, like what the contents of her stomach are. And they're like, oh, you have like human meat, like other human DNA, like in your body right now. And she tried to contact this guy, obviously freaking out. He is gone from the apps, like completely ghosts her, and she never talks to him again. So that like shook me. Like I had never heard of anything like that happening. I thought like even if the story isn't true, like how creepy is that like someone would feed someone else human meat without their consent and then like completely ghost them and just like poison them basically. And like where did he get this meat? Like I don't know. There's just so many interesting layers to that. So when I first started writing mukbang, it was initially like the killer was going to be a guy, or the mukbanger was going to be a guy. But then I just flipped it on its head, and I thought like I want to write this movie from a man's perspective as a woman and see like how I can like play with like gender stereotypes and like challenge myself as a writer to write from the perspective of a guy. So yeah, my long story short to answer your question.
I remember seeing you speak about that briefly before, but I kind of forgot
Mhm.
about it. And especially, I think I'd read that just before, or I think it might have been just after I'd seen the film, and I was like, fucking hell, like, it's wild.
I knew I wanted to do something with like a mukbanger, and I've always really been into cannibal movies. Like Ravenous is one of my favorite films. Raw is one of my other favorite films. Like those movies are so inspirational to me. I think there's just something so taboo and just inherently like fucked up about eating human meat, especially like for me. Like I haven't had meat since 2012. Like I don't eat meat, so eating human meat is like just so bizarre and disgusting to me.
With the film and the cannibal being in the title, the movie is
Mhm.
pretty gory and graphic at some points. I'm
Mhm.
curious about the process of creating those practical effects, considering at times they get fairly disgusting.
Yeah, so I worked with some amazing special effects artists, Ashley Thomas and Alex Lozano with Yellow Mock makeup, and Jackie Hughes, who actually did the makeup on Terrifier 2 and 3. She's one of the makeup artists on that. And then I did some special effects too in the swamp sequence of the film. So I come from a background of doing special effects on a much lower level than the people that I just named. Like I love doing it for fun. Um, And so I've always been interested in having like really gory, insane stuff in my movies and hope to continue to do that. But luckily, I had a great team who could do like life casting and make silicone body parts and make things look really realistic and gross. But a lot of it was silicone. Some of the stuff that the actors are eating is like actual food that was just like crushed up Rice Krispie treats with like maraschino cherry juice and like chocolate syrup, like really, really low budget stuff.
It looks really great in the film, and I spent a
Hmm.
lot of times at least questioning myself, just wondering how the fuck did this get pulled off and all of that. So, it's great to hear some insight.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the swamp sequence in particular was basically just like roast beef that Consolo's mom made, and I doused in a bunch of syrup. So a lot of stuff that is actual food like looks really gross if you just put it next to like a dead body, you
Yeah.
know?
What films played a big part in influencing the style and the direction of the film? I know you mentioned Ravenous, but curious if there was any others as well that played a big part.
Yeah, when I was in the process of like just coming up with the style and like how I wanted it visually to look, my DP Harrison Craft and I worked a lot together to develop kind of like our process through of filming, which was the first half of the movie is a rom-com. So we decided that we were going to shoot on like 30 to 50 millimeter lenses for the first half, aside from the dream sequences, to keep it feeling like you're watching an early 2000s romantic comedy, like 10 Things I Hate About You, She's All That, like those types of films really inspired me. Knocked Up, those Judd Apatow films, like that sort of just straightforward look. Um, and then as it progresses, it gets a little more experimental. Like Exorcist 3 was a big inspiration for the dream sequence when Mark cuts off his nose. And yeah, like I was really inspired by those early 2000s romantic comedies. And then from a romance perspective too, In the Mood for Love is like one of the best movies of all time. I sent over a lot of those shots and told Harrison like I want it to be like so saturated. Like I want this movie to be so colorful and for us to really feel like who these characters are with their clothes and like their rooms. And Mark is very like green and he looks kind of like Boy Meets World, like 90s boy. Whereas Ash is like this like 90s manic pixie dream girl with like her super bright pink room and like all of her bright clothes and her makeup. But yeah, I definitely was inspired by those romantic comedies and then In the Mood for Love and of course Jennifer's Body. That was like a huge inspiration. Just everything about that movie, kind of the sense of humor and like how it's sort of genre bending. Like I didn't want this to just be a straight horror movie. I didn't want it to just be a straight romance. It had to be a mixture of both.
When making the film and using all of this, what would you say was the biggest challenge that came about when filming, or even any process of making the film, really?
Well, I would say that when filming, the biggest challenge was just budget and time. Like, we are a micro budget movie. There was not a lot of time to film just because it's expensive to hire everybody every single day of shooting. So we had 14 days of principal photography and we had an 110-page script that we had to try and squeeze into that time. We had a few pickup days after that helped supplement that first shoot because there's just some times when like we would get to a restaurant where we're shooting at and be like, okay, we have like 4 hours to shoot like 10 pages of dialogue. And we have to like load in, set up, like get everybody in, figure all this stuff out. So really the biggest challenge was time. And I think that affects everything. If I could go back, I wish that I had like a 28-day shoot, but you know, I worked with what I had. Um, and then something that I don't think people talk enough about is delivering a film. So I'm so grateful for Jackrabbit Media for distributing and handling sales on the movie. But no one explains like when you sell a movie, like the process of delivering that film to a distribution company is long. Like it was like 3 months of extra work on top of everything else for me and for my co-editor Haley Zalkin. Like making DCPs, like going through a lab and like doing all the quality control, delivering it to multiple territories. Like there's just so many things that you don't think about. Like you're like, oh, I sold the movie, great. But then you have to actually deliver the movie. So yeah, lots of things I could talk about with challenges, but that's the fun of it.
It kind of bleeds into the next thing that I was going to ask, which was there any ideas that you had filmed or storyboarded that you wished that you'd kept in the final cut that just couldn't make it, or as you said, time restrictions if that had interfered?
Yeah, so there's actually like three deleted scenes that hopefully will be released at some point in the future on some special Blu-rays or something. But there's a really funny like scene in the park where Ash and Mark um like fake having intercourse like on a dead body and to like make bystanders walk away and just think that they're like hooking up in the bushes when in reality they're like on top of a body that's like they're trying to keep quiet, like he's not dead yet. So that was really fun. In the script, I had written a lot more gore and a lot more like mukbang type elements. But when I was cutting the film with Haley, like there's only so much we can see of Ash eating. And at some point, it's like, yeah, the movie's called Cannibal Mukbang, but like, I don't want the whole movie to just be her eating. Like, it had to be a lot more of her story. So it's been fun seeing some of the like reviews and critique on it being like, there's barely any mukbang in here. And I'm like, well, if you watch the movie, actually in almost every scene, like someone is eating food or like drinking something. Like there's always consumption going on. And at the end of the day, the story is about her consuming this man. So
Yeah.
she technically is like eating him alive throughout the whole movie.
Well, that's another thing that kind of links back, which I was
Mhm.
interested in while watching it. When you were creating the film, did you see it more as a criticism towards this kind of mukbang culture that's been built on YouTube, where, some people on the platform have kind of taken it too far and other
Yeah.
people kind of just do it, there's some exploitation with it, or was the film always kind of this critique on a toxic relationship of such?
I think a mixture of both. At the heart of the movie, it is about toxic relationships and codependency and losing yourself in someone else. But it is also a critique on the viewer's consumption of all of this stuff too. And I think social media is like an addictive thing, an addictive drug. And I find myself even, I'm trying to fall asleep and I'm just scrolling on TikTok and watching someone eat crumble cookies or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, go to sleep, Like, that like this isn't good for you. And also mukbanging has definitely taken it a little too far. Like there's some mukbangers that like eat octopus like alive on camera. And like, I don't want to watch that, you
Yeah.
know? Um, there is like a dark side to it. And I think that it can be done in like a lighthearted manner. And like kudos to the people that make a living doing it. Like what a crazy job. What a fun, interesting, weird job to have. Um, but like anything, like needs to be handled with care and also moderated so you don't spend all of your time watching stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess it could be said for like generally anything online, but
Oh
I guess
yeah.
mukbanging something that's I mean, we haven't really seen much focus on it in cinema, so at least you're bringing a new focus to the conversation.
Yeah.
I imagine you're wanting to make more movies, as you said, you had another script as well. So I was
Mhm.
wondering if we can expect more films that follow in this kind of body horror genre, or have you got any other ideas in terms of other types of genre in the future?
Yeah, I definitely love body horror. I think that my relationship to my own body and the struggles that I've had and addictions that I've kind of had with like myself, like I don't even know, like it's hard for me to explain like why body horror is so important to me. I think just even being a woman, like all of the things that we have to go through um to be healthy and also like to not to get dark, but like not get pregnant. Like getting an IUD is one of the scariest things you can do, and we all do it without any pain medication. Like, the people that do that. Um, so yeah, like I'll always probably incorporate body horror into the horror or like the genre films that I make. But I love romantic comedy. I think it's really fun. I love like mumblecore type filmmaking. Um, I'd love to get more into action and like have bigger set pieces and things. But a lot of that has to do with budget. Like in the future, if I was to have a lot of money to make something like, yeah, I would make an epic, crazy supernatural horror movie, where like there's tons of stunts and things going on. But right now at this point in my career, I'm very character driven, and I think that making horror allows for you to experiment a lot with narrative and having your characters kind of like carry things through. So yeah, I'm interested in making a lot of different types of movies. I have like three scripts right now that I'm trying to push out.
Well, I hope they go well.
Thank
Um,
you.
I'm curious as well with the factor of casting. How
hmm
did you come about casting Nate and April? And
hmm
if it was a long process or if it was friends or just anything really?
Yeah, so I had casting, put a casting call out on this service called Actors Access. Shout out to Actors Access. Love you guys. I went through that through this other thing called Breakdown Express. That's like the back end of it. So I put out a call for Ash and for Mark and received like hundreds of people for each role, sent their headshots in and their slates. And from there, I just kind of like casting's difficult. I don't know if you've done it before, Cameron, but like when you cast, like you're just looking at like hundreds of faces. And at some point, you're like, I feel terrible. Like I feel so bad, like not selecting some of these people because who knows, but you kind of just have to go with your gut. So I would select people that I saw visually that might match them. And then from there, send out a call for them to audition. And when I saw like Nate's audition come in, I just knew it had to be him. It was the first one I watched miraculously. I remember exactly how I felt where I was when I watched it. And I just knew it had to be him. Like he had this sort of like stumbling, mumbling, awkward tenderness to him that was so unique, and his line delivery was so unique. And it really was just like how I imagined Mark's character to be, because Mark, he's tricky because he's like a handsome guy, but there's this like inner darkness and like this just you just want to shake him because like he makes all these stupid decisions and is so like unsure of himself. Um, but yeah, Nate, I got really lucky, like first guy that I saw. And then April was trickier. Um, or Ash was trickier. I get their names confused now because April is Ash to me. But once I saw Ash, when I saw April's audition, I knew I had to talk to her and I had to have her do a callback. And she got the role when we talked on the phone, really, because we just clicked really well. She totally understood Ash's character and had this like hatred towards men that was like palpable. Like she was like, I love Ash, like I can relate to her. Um, I can bring the intensity, to the role and also the tenderness to the role. And yeah, I just got incredibly lucky. Like they were seriously like they make the film and I could cry like thinking about how amazing they are. But with the rest of the roles too, with Maverick, I had always had Clavon Karlowitz in mind. I'd seen him act in a few things before. Return to Nukem High, Volume 1 and 2. He also acted in My Bloody Banjo by Liam Regan. His energy is just so perfect for Maverick's character that like I had a feeling I wanted him. I did put a casting call out, but I also asked him to audition, and as soon as I saw his audition, he just like blew everyone else out of the water and it had to be him. Plus he looks like Mark too, or he looks like Nate.
Yeah.
Like they weirdly look like brothers, so it just fit so well. And everyone else was just honestly friends because I didn't have a big budget and I had to hire people that I knew I could hire in my budget, who were reliable that, you know, would want to do it. So,
Well, the last thing I have to ask, which is a question that everyone I spoke to fucking hates. Why should people see Cannibal Mukbang?
oh, why do people hate that? Come on. What do
I
people normally say to you? They're like, don't ask me that.
remember the last person I spoke to was Annapurna, and she was just like, I don't know, just to go and support independent cinema, I guess, or just
Yeah.
rambled around it.
I'm so excited to see Fuck Toys, by the way. That movie looks awesome.
Oh,
But
man.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it.
I'm excited. Well, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, viewer out there in the world, but Cannibal Mukbang is really fun. I think it's a funny film. It has great acting, great gore if you like that. Um, And I think it's for the people who've had their hearts broken, or f found themselves in a toxic relationship, either with themselves, with family, with friends, with a lover. I think it's something that most people can relate to. And I just hope that you do go out and support independent cinema too. Like Anna said, definitely think that if you have the opportunity to support the filmmakers that don't have millions of dollars, don't have the support of big studios, those are the people that are going to make unique things that aren't just going to be spin-offs or sequels or remakes.
Um,
I like that question. Good
me
question.
too. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much for watching this interview with me and Cameron. Cameron, thank you for having me. Um, if you're watching this before July 20th, Cannibal Mukbang did get nominated for two of Fangoria's Chainsaw Awards. I can't believe it. It feels crazy. But it got nominated for Best First Feature and Best Streaming Premiere. So if you want to vote for that, go for it. If you want to vote for whatever else, do whatever you want. But the voting ends on July 20th, and you can find out more information on Fangoria.